Welcome to Lights in the Night with Russ Johnson. Join us in our never-ending quest for knowledge on extraterrestrial life, UFOs, and the beyond. Your host, Russ, will lead you on an intergalactic quest to discover alien existence and life expansion. Make sure to call in at 888-994-4995 Studio A to ask questions and get involved. And visit us online at lightsinthe.night.org. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for Lights in the Night.
Well, welcome again to lightsinthe.night.org. If you haven't gone to the website, lightsinthe.night.org, and you see a lot of information on that. As a matter of fact, my guest, Zena, with me today, she's on that website, and there are 3 or 4 shows on it. Some other people on that website, too. Listen, what we're doing is to bringing you information that the Pentagon has just released, we call it a soft disclosure, that for 60, 70, 80 years, all of this information about UFOs, UAPs as they call them these days, have been out there, and researchers have been delving into all of this, and they got tons and tons of books and tons of information all over the internet. Gaia, beyond belief. Art Bell back in the day had millions and millions of people watching him. It's a lot of information out there, and I'm suggesting that now you begin to reach out and get that information, because in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to be all over the planet. It's how can I say it? It's a secret that has been held close by a very few people on planet Earth. But now I think it's going to be spread all over the world so people can understand what has been going on for the last thousands of years, if you will, but especially in the last 100 years, at least since Roswell of 1947. Zena, thank you very much for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having me as your guest.
So you're a psychic?
I am a psychic.
Intuitive?
Yes.
A clairvoyant?
Yes.
And you've been abducted many
I have.
times? Okay. So the people want to know, have I been abducted? You know, they ask themselves, have I been abducted? Because the estimate that I have is that 8 million people have been abducted right here in the United States in the past few years. Now, you say you have been abducted. How can you determine whether you have been abducted, and how can you tell other people who might have been, but the memories have been erased,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
they have been abducted?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying,
Okay.
and it was very hard for me to even understand that in the very beginning. But I documented every place that I was going to. But at that particular time, I thought I was just astral projecting 3 times a week. I didn't know too much about that, but I was told what astral projection was, so I was flying. But only recently, and it's actually since I met you, Russ, that I realized, and also my guide told me that I would work out and figure out something one day. I was being abducted, because had I have just been flying, for viewers that may know what that is, I accepted that. But I'm being spoken to. I'm in a craft, and they're explaining to me where I'm going. That was abduction.
Right.
And it was a combination of the two. But
Right.
I am so grateful for it. It was not a negative experience. It was a very positive experience. And I'm still learning from those journeys that I had.
There's some people who feel that it might have been, for them, a negative experience, a
Right.
frightening experience. I'm thinking about it. Have you seen Communion? The motion
No, I have
picture?
not, no.
Okay. Have you seen The Fourth Kind, the motion picture, The Fourth
I
Kind?
have seen that many. Yes. See, I didn't go and dwell too much into what was happening to me, because I thought I was learning too much about, at that point, astral projection. But I was watching Star Trek and all these things that were so. I could relate to these things, and I'm seeing all these things. So that's what made me say, I think something more was happening to me. But now, and we hear so much today, even on the regular news, as I would call it, that I suddenly realized, after my guide who was here, after his passing, and he's still giving me plenty of messages, how I met you and how this is so important to me today. Of course I was abducted. I was abducted many times, which is in my first book. They were showing me all these different planets.
Okay.
But it took me a while. Well, it took me years, actually, to figure out really what was happening to me.
For those who may have been abducted and really don't know, don't remember anything, because They erased your memory. Is that true?
Absolutely, they erased my
Okay.
memory, but I'm breaking through that today.
Okay, fine. Once in a while that happens, and I guess we can look at you as a contactee then.
Yes, absolutely.
Since
yes.
you remember, and you had a coach. Was he from?
Well,
Was he an alien?
He was, but he guided me. He passed away 2 years ago, but he was in my life for 18 years.
Okay.
And my first book, I talk about him. He was my mentor, my coach, and my guide. He had looked for me in his lifetime. He was from Peru. He found me 20 years ago, just before I had actually, after my very first abduction.
Okay.
He showed himself to me.
Oh.
And how I am to me, this was so real. He got into my dream. Everything that I thought, I went to bed one night, I was abducted. And this is the first time I really totally opened up to this. He's describing my dream to me, the planet that I was on. And I'm thinking, how does this guy explain my dream? He was there. He was there. He was part of my abduction, but a friendly abduction. I do want to say and emphasize that.
So you had a good experience there.
I never had, except for my very last one, which I'm going to open up for the very first time now because I think it's important.
Okay.
Over the last year that I was doing this, everywhere I went was very, it was fine. I was not scared. I was listening to my guides. I couldn't get enough of what was happening to me. Until my very last one, at the end of that first year, it was slightly different. It was the time that I actually showed fear. I see it because these abductions to me are as clear as they're happening right now. They were a small spacecraft that I was going on. Maybe there was 2 people in it and myself and my guide that was there too. So it really was, let's say, a 4-seater craft.
Right.
But my very last abduction, and I see it so clearly now, was big. It was one of these big ones that we're exposed to today. And I remember I walked forward into getting onto this spacecraft, and I've never opened up to this. And I said, I have fear. And I never got on it. And do you know that my abductions stopped after that for the first year?
Wow.
I'm seeing that today. I know that I'm still projecting, and I very much want it to return because I was going so often. So I have no fear, but I think there was something in that particular one that gave me a little bit of fear. So I didn't step on the craft.
So you didn't go?
No, I didn't go.
Okay.
But I went to many other places
But
prior to that.
even though prior to that you had gone to many
Yes.
many
many
on
different
many
planets,
trips.
which I wrote, which
Okay.
I thought I was just traveling by myself there. No, I went to many different planets. I
Okay.
saw many different people. I was privy to some of this top secret information,
Wow.
which I see now today. So although the last one was negative, I've overcome that now. So I don't care where I go at this
Well,
point.
you know, there's a phrase. I was talking to another young lady named Jillian Green. Her husband used to do a lot of research for the
Right.
last 40, 50, 60 years before he left, George Green. And he has a website still up that is called nohoax.net. So if people want to go to their website and see what's there. But anyway, she had said that there are some people who are diabolical, nefarious. Some people who are borderline Draco, if you will, if
Yes.
you allow the term. And she says, you have to be careful of what spaceship you get on. That's what she says.
Thank you, because you're validating
Okay.
something that if my guide had been here, but I believe that he's talking to us today to tell me I had my instincts were absolutely correct by not going. It was a different type of craft that I had been going on. So that validates completely in my mind why I didn't step onto that craft. For nearly a year, it was all positive. That one could have been negative.
could
I
have
would say
been.
the majority of people that are abducting us today are positive. They're
Okay.
doing it for a reason.
Okay. Now, those spaceships have been around for a while. And I don't want to go back to you being in the Anunnaki, which is what, 400,000 years ago?
Yes, I
But-
believe so. We could even maybe go further, but that's okay. It's just there is
Okay.
really no
Okay.
time, but it goes back thousands of years.
But as you watch Corey Good, David Wilcox, you
Yes, I
watch
do.
Gaia,
I do.
Cosmic Connections, Beyond Belief, George Ray, you watch all of that.
I do, yes,
Okay, fine.
yes.
Then the reality is that there's an entity called My Labs. Do you know about my labs?
If you tell me a little, I'm not familiar with the actual name.
Well, the United States, the government has back engineered
Yes, no, I understand
all
that.
these spacecraft.
Yes, I
in many
totally,
instances.
yes.
And that's
I
what
do.
they've been hiding.
I
for.
understand exactly what
Okay,
you're
great.
saying, yes.
So when we talk about my labs, then you have all these entities called spaceships, little ships. But the government has created those themselves.
Yes.
And they use those
Yes,
as a subterfuge
yes, no, I follow you.
away from the regular spacecraft that the entities have come in to
Right.
this planet for.
Yes, I'm
Let's talk
following
about
you.
that for a minute.
Okay, so the question is, it's reverse engineering type of thing. Yes, I'm very familiar with that.
Okay.
I went to one place that I feel was very top secret.
Okay.
And it sounds strange to people that may be just tuning in, but obviously people have an interest because they're listening to your program. It was so top secret that I thought they were actually having to put a credit card in to go through, but it was because they weren't sure whether they wanted me in to see what they were doing. Well, I think some of that was reverse engineering. Some of them had come here and they were, but they took me there. But what I got from that particular one, that it was, they were working with AI.
Okay.
Which to me, I have a lot of memory now that's coming back. They were explaining to me, although it was difficult because as I was traveling through that, the static was very difficult. But my memory is beginning to see everything that happened to me on that particular trip. And they were explaining how advanced they were with AI, which is very important for us to know this.
Okay.
I'm getting these messages very strongly. On our planet right now, we need to know what they're doing. Because AI, people go, oh, that's clever. Look, we've got all these other things. We can ask them questions and we think it's fun. I don't want to be negative, but we need to find out more about this because it can turn on us if we don't figure this out. I'm not saying that that's going to happen because, again, even on my show, I try to be very positive.
Certainly.
But I feel that we need to go into this more,
Well,
Russ.
there is a dark side.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
If I say Illuminati,
Yes.
the Bilderbergers,
Yes.
then you can tell that's part of the Draco.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
The cabal.
The cabal, yes.
Okay. Okay, let's do it this way. What should people be concerned with to look at the negative as well as the positive?
Well, you know, sometimes we say we need to see both sides.
Right.
And I think it's very important to arm ourselves with what we may be up against. I believe very much with what I've learned today and my guide too, that we have to have balance, so to speak. We have to have each side of this. We make up our own minds. So to hear the negative and the positive of this is very important. The negative is the fact that we are controlled. The positive is that we are aware of that and we can do something about it, which is very, very important. That's my message today, to wake up to maybe well, not maybe, it is happening here, but not everybody's going to understand that. As I didn't, it took me a long time to figure this out myself. So we've got to know what we're up against, so to speak.
Right.
It's very, very important, very important.
I think if I were to say something like, we can go in the Bible and it says Ephesians 6:4, that we are not fighting against the good and bad necessarily all the time, but against principalities. What does that mean?
Well, again, you know, and I have to say, and I mean, this may offend certain people. I'm Jewish, and I wasn't brought up too much with any religious background. So when you quote the Bible or parts of it, I'm not, other than what I rely on my guys to tell me. I don't know a whole lot. But I think that we need to know all these stories to create that balance. In answer to your question, if you could just present it to me again, because I feel like my guides do help me with the answer to that.
Certainly. I really want to talk about the Draco, the dark side.
Okay.
I don't want to... Look, there are many species on the planet. Would you say there are at least 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe more?
I would go to more than that.
More than,
yes,
okay.
definitely.
And they are here, and they've been coming
Yes,
here for many reasons.
Yes, yes.
And we could talk about that in a bit. But there are certain species that will work with the dark side.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Is that true?
Oh, yes, from what I have learned, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you want to identify any of those? I mean, not a lot, but just any of them.
Well,
The reptilians,
the
maybe?
reptilians being one of them,
Okay,
absolutely,
okay.
because their agenda, so to speak, because
Okay.
I believe this is all a game, so let's
Certainly,
keep
okay,
it light.
okay,
It's a
okay,
game.
okay.
Their agenda is to control us so
Okay.
that we really don't find out what's going on. I've been privy, which I'm very grateful for, to a lot of information, and I'm ready to speak my truth today. And my truth is that we really need people to understand a little bit about this, Russ. It's very important. Our conversation here, people can say, well, they're just having a conversation. But, and I know that you know, we only met a few weeks ago, but I think we have the same agenda. I'm not necessarily here to frighten people. I'm here to basically, let's save our planet. Let's help us. Let's show more compassion here with people.
Okay.
So I believe this is opening the door to all those
Well, let's talk
things.
about that. So, what would you suggest that our main focus be in life
Okay.
as people on the planet, evolving, learning, growing, developing? We're all students here.
Right.
So, what should we be doing? Maybe you might want to read that poem out of the
Okay,
book.
you want me to, yeah, I've got
Yeah.
the book on my lap and I
Page 25.
Yes, I actually wrote this in
Okay.
2006. Just
Okay.
explain, I have a book and I did not know, just like my art, I had no idea what I was drawing. My poetry or prose, as they would call it, came the same way. And I always ask someone to pick a page and you pick this. So it's actually called here, What is Going On Within the Mysteries of Our Souls?
Okay.
We too, do we understand? We are but mere mortals in this universe. Way beyond the stars, there are so many mysteries. We have not touched the surface. Must we judge? I think not. Look within. Our answers are all there. Take time to smell the flowers. Look to the sky and way beyond. We are missing so much in this world as we know it. Look within. Look beyond. We have so much to learn. Yet go slow, my child. Forget the anger. Forget the rage. Stop now and learn. We must forgive. We must forgive ourselves. We are immortal. What that which is was is. Zena.
Yep. In the Bible, and when they talk with Jesus, and we can talk about who he was, or Krishna, or Buddha, or Baha'u'llah, or Zoroaster, or even Muhammad. But when we talk about Jesus, he was saying to his disciples, forgive, 7 times 7, on and on. And so we should be forgiving people, but not so naive that we get on the wrong spaceship.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that I've been protected, and I feel that my guide here protected me then and is protecting me now.
Right.
Someone else, let's say, might not have been as lucky. I followed my instinct even in my travels. I didn't get on that ship. However, I am still being guided by my guide Aldo, but he did not tell me all this. He told me that I will figure out more things, and I did since he's passed.
Okay.
So I followed my instincts even as my abduction was happening. They
Okay.
didn't force me there.
Okay.
They didn't.
Okay. So the question is then, as human beings learning, growing, developing, right? What should we be doing? What kind of life should we be living? I mean, when I read your book, I see you talk about Esther and Jerry Hicks.
Yes.
I see you talk about the positive principles of self-development. You talk about always be positive, always be grateful, always be a learner, always stay open. What should we be doing as people as we learn?
Exactly what you have actually just said.
Well, you
it's
say it.
very important.
course.
Stay open to any possibilities. Remain. My show, which is on a Monday at 3, is all about being positive, because I think that's very important, because we attract what we put out. The universe is a living being.
Okay.
So they only know what we tell it to. So if I say I'm having a bad day and this is going wrong and that's going wrong, guess what happens? They say, well, maybe she wants to continue with this and everything's going to go wrong. However, we can truly believe that we can change that and say we're having a good day today and everything. I used to hate this, by the way. I was in sales and they told me always to do this. I was don't do this to me. However, over the last 20 years, I'm really realizing that the universe wants to give me good as long as I ask for good.
Okay.
So just go with your intuition, with your gut, which I talk about on my show, and don't feed it. I have to talk about the negativity, obviously, in the show, because we have good and bad influences here. We need to arm ourselves with this information, but don't fall for it. Don't continue to do that. But we need to know it. We need to know what we're talking about.
So we have to
now.
we have to be discerning, if you will.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Then when we talk about Edward Casey, Sylvia Brown, how would you describe those two individuals?
Well, they were both in their own way different, because Edgar Casey, what they call him, the dream prophet, as far as I know, and he was able to go into a lot of things. Sylvia Brown did, I don't want to relate myself to Sylvia Brown, but she was able to give messages just the way that I do. So they were both two different. When I wrote that book, I didn't know that I knew as much as I did now, because that book was 20 years ago. So my psychic ability actually manifested over the years, over the last 20 years. But they were both good. Everybody that has this message, as long as it's positive, and most of psychics are today positive, it's a good message. We are not what we think we are. We are much more than what we think we are.
Okay. So we are spirits occupying a human body.
Yes, and I've heard that, and I love that, because to me it rings so true. But we need to open up to that idea. And I believe, getting back to the UFOs and our abductions, I believe that a lot of these aliens, so to speak, off our planet, that are coming to our planet, are here to help us. They want to help us to get back a little bit onto the track of this. So when they abduct us, we're poisoning ourselves here, not only just with nuclear, with war, we're poisoning with the food, with many things that we hear. They want to save us, as though we might say, well, all these strange people, what do they want to save us for? They may have an ulterior motive, because what goes up into the atmosphere is also hurting their planets. But ultimately, I feel that they're good. Not all, but the majority of them are. They're doing tests on us to find out what damage we're actually doing to our bodies here, so that we may be able to change that and not continue with that. Most of these, I'm not saying every one, of course not, but a lot of them are friendly abductions.
Okay. The Greys.
Yes, they're here, they're good.
Okay.
It's more what we're talking about of the darker entities that are controlling our planet.
Okay. And so, if I were to say Dolores Cannon, how would you describe her?
Amazing.
Well, tell
Her
us
message
more.
is incredible. I must say, over the years, many people have told me to listen to Dolores Cannon, and I've been so busy doing what I'm doing, I didn't. I knew she was always in the back of my mind, but a month ago, I was trying to get Gaia, which is great for exposing all this.
Okay.
I couldn't, because my TV wasn't allowing me to get Gaia. So I went into YouTube and I said, I asked Aldo, my guide, because he talks to me still, find me a program. It was Dolores Cannon. And I sat mesmerized for an hour and a half. And I did what I could only say was a complete, even for me, I did such a jump in my understanding. So she's certainly worth listening to and reading. For me, it opened many, many more doors for me. I did 1,000% jump having listened
Well, she's
to her.
gone now, but
She's gone.
But she's left a lot of material. And to find her, you can always go to nohoax.net on that website.
Okay.
But also you can always 3 minutes count.
Yeah,
for
goes
time.
by so fast. Oh my gosh!
You could-
I can't believe he just did 3 minutes.
I think he took some time from us.
Okay.
Anyway, you can always Google her
Yes, yes,
and look at YouTube
yes, yes,
along with David Wilcox
yes. Because
Corey
I do.
Good.
I definitely recommend.
and look at some of the shows.
Yes.
What show would you recommend?
And I also, having watched them, please go into David Icke.
Okay, David
which
Icke.
is also on Gaia, but he's pretty well known. He is British, just as I am.
Certainly.
And his message is so strong about what we're fighting, more so than what I can
So
tell
we have
you.
to do our homework.
We need to do our homework, and I recommend David Icke.
Okay.
Because I think one of his books is The World's Biggest Secret or something. Not sure.
Right.
But I started off with that. And
spell that last
Zachariah
name?
Sitchin. Zachariah Sitchin.
But
yeah.
David Icke.
David Icke is more because he's around still,
Right.
and his workshop or lectures take
or something
yes,
like that, something like
Icke, ICK. Well, I'm not sure myself because
Right.
I don't really know what you're
Okay,
going to ask
okay.
me, so I wasn't
All
prepared.
right. So people who need
One
to,
more minute.
1 minute, 60 seconds, okay. In 30 seconds, how can people get in touch with you and watch more programs that you are doing to educate us? And help?
Okay, well, I have a call-in show on a Monday. Call Me Zena is my show at 3 o'clock. It's a call-in show. My name is Sally Bernard. You can find me on Facebook. And I have to ask my husband because he just set up a website for me. It's Call Me Zena 1111. An email. I am not technology minded.
Okay.
Call Me Zena.
Call me Zena 1111.
1111. Okay,
Thank
you've
you.
been watching.
I need help as far as this goes.
You've been watching Lights in the Night right here, and we certainly hope that you've gotten some information out of it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Lights in the Night. Be sure to catch us every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you missed a show, be sure to head to our Facebook page, Lights in the Night with Russ Johnson. You can find us on all social media platforms and our website at lightsinthenight.org. We will see you next week, and as always, keep your eyes and ears peeled for Lights in the Night.